Kia ora, Christine. Thank you for coming today, and congratulations on Supply. It's an excellent exhibition. I think when people first come in, there's a sense, it's a visual narrative that is complete in itself. It seems like a complete world, a complete narrative, even if you don't quite understand it. It's succinct and whole. Where did this world come from? What inspirations did you draw on?
Do you mean like visually, or
Yes, visually.
I guess like I see it as just an amalgamation of all the things that I like and that I visually look at or read. So I guess a lot of like Persian miniatures, ukiyo-e prints, comic books. I mentioned in the article like Steve Ditko, who did the Doctor Strange comics. Yeah, just a wide range of samples that I like.
Of other civilizations and other worlds that are sort of futuristic, sort of 60s, and sort of archaic as well.
Yeah, I was looking a lot at kind of Egyptian mythology for a short period of time, and I was really interested, I guess, in like the politics of an early civilization, and I guess Egypt is kind of the classic one that you think of because it's the one we know the most about. So yeah, I read a few books about that. Yeah, and I wanted to kind of get a sense of like a political system and kind of contrast it with my own experience of my political system, my sphere of, yeah.
That's the relevance of today, isn't it? That sense of surveillance and a power hierarchy that's really strong in these works. Is that where you drew on your own experience?
Yeah, definitely. Like in the workplace, personally, I guess we didn't like literally have surveillance cameras, but in a lot of other friends like retail stores, I have friends where, you know, bosses have installed surveillance cameras and they can look on their phone and make sure everyone's working at all times. And I had another friend who also, there was a speaker installed so they could tell them when to get back to work. And like, that does something to you psychologically. I think you lose your autonomy when you're in a space like that where you're under like, someone's constantly over your shoulder and you know it. And you know it's there.
And where that shows through here is also the passivity of the human figures. A lot of them seem to be looking down, or they're involved in sort of quite ordinary domestic duties, but they're being watched, and the titles like hunt, and you know, they're quite directive and imperative, so that it's a sense of control.
Yeah, I wanted the titles actually to feel almost a bit condescending, like you're kind of voyeuristically looking at the civilization and not really thinking about the people or like how they feel, but the action that's going on, like the efficiency, you know, like this is the action the figures are doing. Yeah.
The figures are operating in a very busy environment. There's plants, there's strange creatures, there's symbols. It's quite sort of like this hermetic world that is full and flourishing and thriving. There's not life in these works. Where did that come from? Where was that? I haven't seen that in your work before, the sort of the foliage and the...
I think partly I just wanted to draw different things. Like I wanted to create like an environment, and I guess you can't denote that without like flora and fauna and animals, and I guess subconsciously maybe I wanted to kind of show this lush environment, but we can't really enjoy it because we're kind of constantly under surveillance and we constantly have to be like feeding this higher up thing when you're at the bottom of the chain, and yeah, I guess that's part of it.
The sort of the Lovecraft horror, cosmological world that some of these allude to Is that also a part of sort of, there's a threat in the air? Is that what you feel with some of these works as well? Because the figures are quite predatory in a way, there's something looming in the back and coming in from odd angles.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, there's that feeling of like people just being like a commodity to be used, and I definitely felt like that in my own experience. Like I have to participate in this, you know, and like feeding this thing higher than me, but in doing so also destroying my own environment, or like, you know, other environments. And yeah, it feels quite disheartening when you don't want to participate in that, but to survive you have to, you know, you have your food and your shelter, and all like your basic human needs. Yeah, sorry, I kind of got lost.
No, that makes complete sense. So there's a powerlessness, and you know, it's things that need to be addressed, but they really can't because they're at the bottom of that power.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that as an artist as well, because when you want to like do art, it's not something that's inherently like profitable. It feels like quite self-indulgent actually, and yeah, it's hard to do art, I guess, in this in this environment. Yeah.
The detail of this is extraordinary, and I want to talk about just the way you work. What are you using? You're using pens, brushes?
Mostly, so there's gouache, acrylic paint pens, and like fine liner pens. So I just kind of would find whatever like brands would have this finest tip. But yeah, I would kind of do the figures, like kind of draw them and do gouache, and then outline them with a darker line, and then the rest is just kind of like kind of blocky paint. Like with these ones there's a lot more painting, but that was only kind of when I worked my way up with a bit of confidence in doing gouache, because yeah, painting, I guess gouache is really good because I realized it was a medium that I could kind of draw with a bit more, which I guess you can't really do with like oils or acrylic.
There is a lot of red in these. Why red?
Mostly out of necessity, because yeah, I started off just being able to do black lines, and colour wasn't my strong suit. So I looked at some other artists who predominantly work in like black and screen prints and stuff, and they incorporated, you know, red and pinks, and that, like, you know, obviously red works really well with black and white. So I kind of started from there and then kind of built the colours that worked with those red tones.
Right,
Yeah.
right. The figures themselves are quite pale and unadorned and both vulnerable and innocent. They seem to be, and their faces are quite neutral as well. Is that to set them apart from the environment?
Yeah, I guess they are. I guess they don't, like, they participate in the environment, but they're still, like, they don't have any like autonomy in the environment, I guess. They're just kind of a, like, I kind of wanted them to just all look the same. Yeah, I don't know.
There's a balance of fun and popular culture with the more sort of typical oppressive surveillance sort of tones of them. Was it hard to get that balance? Because that's what pulled you in.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, I guess I just had some things that I kept in mind when I was composing the compositions, and just some like rules for myself, that I guess I wanted there to be an oppressive force in them, and that the oppressive force would mostly be black, so that it would cut through the images, and kind of be the the most like contrasted thing, so that I could do however many colours I wanted in the background, but it would still be kind of the thing that would draw you in. Yeah, I've kind of lost the question, sorry.
And to go to the smaller embroideries,
Mm.
you've worked with embroidery before. Why, for these works, did you choose that medium?
So, yeah, because I was talking to you before about this, like I wanted to do weaving because I thought that was quite a telling medium of what I was trying to do. Like, it's such an archaic like practice to do weaving, but I found it really hard to make any images. Like I learned some techniques, but I was like, oh, it's just not going to work in time for this show. So yeah, I wanted to have something. I like having something that is 3D and physical in the shows, that so that it feels like there's something you can touch, like there's like a physical artifact from the narrative of the world. Yeah, so I guess that was my choice of medium because it was the one I was most familiar with, but it's also the easiest to make pictures on, and that's what I really find fun.
And there is an archaeological aspect to them. They do feel and look like found artifacts, and I suppose we're constantly doing that through archaeology and even art history. We're finding things and trying to read them, not quite understanding them. And that sort of adds to the intrigue and mystery.
Yeah, I think so.
What are you working on another exhibition now, or what are you another series of works? Where's your next step?
I'm just mostly setting up a new home, setting up my workspace at the moment, but I have some works that I didn't finish for the show that I would like to revisit, so I might finish off some. But I think I've found a good formula in the show that I like, but I also like just deconstructing whatever I've done in the last show and doing the complete opposite, which gives me kind of some room for discovery. It takes a long time, but it is fun kind of composing a whole new visual language, which is really fun for me. But yeah, I really I feel like I've figured out how to combine everything I like a bit more. So maybe I will continue with what I've been doing.
I hope so. Christy, thank you very much and congratulations again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.